Here's Ilhan Omar on CNN. I had to mine for this. I had to go and chase this down. This is Ilhan Omar on CNN speaking about her comments, her disparaging comments towards Charlie Kirk. Let's get into it.
Was killed, that political violence is wrong, and that we should work everything within our power to end gun violence in this country. None of us were interested in litigating his life until his supporters and our House Republican colleagues decided to say he was akin to Martin Luther King, who this man loathed. So you invited us into that debate that you wanted to have, that you said Charlie was always interested in. And so you cannot get upset, you can't be mad if people then hold that mirror and say, but here's really who he was. And we cannot forget, it's one thing to ask us to condemn the violence, but it's another for you to ask us to pretend Charlie wasn't who Charlie was.
I'm not sure anyone's asking that. I mean, maybe some people are.
That is what people are asking.
I'm certainly not asking that, but
that is what people are asking. People are asking and are getting fired for sharing Charlie's words.
Well, and some people were celebrating it. That was part of it. But
I haven't seen that. I've just seen people sharing his words.
The level of disingenuous conversation that's being had right now is of epic proportions. The level of disingenuous conversation that's being had right now is of epic proportions. To sit there and say that you have not, because see, the reason why I hate some of these politicians is because they're not even willing to be honest. To sit there and say that you have not seen anybody celebrating the passing of Charlie Kirk is disingenuous. Y'all know one of the reasons why I believe that she's in office is because y'all allowed for these woke policies and for illegal migrants to come over into this country, and then they ultimately took over Minneapolis and Minnesota. Minneapolis will have probably a Somalian mayor. Yo, I said the same thing, Sierra. I couldn't believe that Caitlyn was the one that had to even say something, because Caitlyn is usually the one that Trump is getting on saying that she out of pocket and she out of order. And to know that Caitlyn is the one that got to sit there and check Ilhan Omar and saying, wait a minute, you capping right now, speaks volumes. When you have a liberal CNN Caitlyn holding her accountable and saying, hey fam, listen, now you acting like people wasn't celebrating. Like, even she has enough respect for the dead to actually speak to the truth about what's really happening in this situation.
There was a town hall that you had 6 days ago.
McQuell says, comparing Charlie, McQuell with smoke in front of his face says, comparing Charlie Kirk to MLK is blasphemous. MLK was loved, not hated, a big difference. You a liar. You're lying right now. MLK, I just got into a full-blown argument over the weekend defending Martin Luther King's legacy. It's plenty of y'all that don't like him now, and it was a lot of y'all that didn't like him then. See, that's how I know you don't really know your history, and that's how I know you really haven't studied history. Because Martin Luther King, regardless of how you feel about Charlie Kirk, and this is why I don't take people serious, Martin Luther King was absolutely hated by a large part of the black community and a large part of the white community when he was alive. He was not loved. He was hated, and that's why he was assassinated. Martin Luther King today, yesterday, and the day before had so many ops that looked like him, that did not like him, and actually wanted to see him gone. I see people talking nonsense about Martin Luther King today. Y'all just talking. I'll go one further. If you truly rocked with Martin Luther King, you wouldn't be so hateful in your heart. You don't even live by the principles that Martin Luther King espoused. You hate white people. Y'all talk so negatively about so many people that y'all don't even like, but then the only time that you come to their defense and start to uplift them is when you see other people as compared to them. And so you hate that person more at the time. And so that's the only reason why you start to compare and defend Martin Luther King's legacy. Y'all was just the other day talking negatively about him, and y'all don't even live according to the principles that he advocated for. Y'all don't judge people by the content of their character. You 100% judge them by the color of their skin. Talking about Martin Luther King. What? How dare y'all? How dare y'all? I don't see, let me tell you something. I don't see white people en masse having negative conversations about Martin Luther King. I only see it happening amongst black people. Everywhere I turn, anytime Martin Luther King is mentioned, somebody is trying to destroy his legacy. People are saying it right now inside of the chat. I heard he cheated on his wife. You didn't hear nothing. You wasn't even alive. You didn't hear nothing. You heard a talking point from somebody else that said something to somebody else that played a game of telephone. And because y'all messy and y'all addicted to drama, you try to destroy people's legacies that look like you because you didn't agree with it and you don't rock with what it is that he said today. Y'all so evil. You hate everything and everyone, and that's why y'all don't have no heroes. The only heroes y'all ever have is rappers and basketball players. En masse, I see black people on a regular basis talking negatively about Martin Luther King. So miss me. Y'all don't have nobody that y'all actually rock with unless they talking about selling dope in the community.
Ago, you called Kirk a quote hateful man, and you had reposted a video that I'm sure you've seen you've taken criticism for. It's a video that called him a reprehensible human being and said Kirk was Dr. Frankenstein and his monster shot him through the neck. Why repost that video?
Because there were a lot of things in the video that I did agree with. Obviously, we share videos. We don't have to agree with every single word. But I do believe he was a reprehensible, hateful man. Like, that is my view of the words that he has said about every single identity that I belong to. He didn't believe that we should have equal access to anything. He also just didn't even believe I could be smart enough. I could have thoughts that could be equal to a white man. Where are we missing?
Now, Sierra, now you know they're not going to go and look at the full context. They got the memory. Listen, these are the same people that was raised off of Vine. Y'all remember Vine? These are the people complaining right now are the same people that was raised off of Vine. They got 7-second attention spans. They're not going to go watch the full clip. Look, you know what I've realized here is no point in wasting your time sometimes trying to convince people or debate with people that use talking points. I don't even cast my pearl to swine. I just be like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't even think you was a fool until they opened up their mouth.
This conversation about who this man was and the things that he said. How do you not find that reprehensible, Caitlin?
Well, of course I don't.
Do you think
I don't
subscribe
to that? But
do
I
you think I don't have the brain processing power like you or a white man?
Well, of course not, and I know, think it's very clear here that I'm not sharing his views, and I don't justify them. But if somebody said that, would you say that that would be reprehensible views? I think the argument that was being made.
No, but I'm asking
what
you.
We have heard.
What I'm asking you is, would you say that?
Yeah, I understand what you're asking me.
But you're asking me how could I?
Why is she so combative? Why is she asking a question and then talking over the person once the person is obviously not agreeing with her? Why she start talking? See, even Ilhan Omar, she didn't even watch the full clips. She's spreading misinformation about what Charlie Kirk actually said and what he really meant about that.
Him reprehensible. Like, that is reprehensible. You said it is reprehensible yourself. That is vile, it's reprehensible, and it is hateful.
No, I'm not asking why you think he's reprehensible. I think you're obviously allowed to have your own views. That's why we have you on here so often, because we like to hear your views and what you think on something. I just think it was the video where it called him Dr. Frankenstein and said his monster shot him through the neck. I mean, obviously this is a person, and looking at this is someone who was a husband and a father, and in the days after his shocking death, that happened as a result of his views, or it happened as a result as he was sharing his views publicly with people, that people found it jarring to hear such criticism.
Somebody said, that's completely a lie. CNN should play the video in order to try to dispute her. I don't think that CNN, you got to remember, Ilhan Omar actually went on CNN, and she's a frequent contributor, and she pulls up to CNN on a regular basis because CNN traditionally is a liberal news organization that parades itself around as though they are objective and that they just report the news and then give their opinion separately. Ilhan Omar came to CNN, I would assume, to actually get in her talking points without having any pushback. I would probably bet you that she was so surprised at the fact that she was getting pushback from CNN. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of these politicians, I don't trust them, because they only even go to places that they think is going to agree with them. This is probably the most pushback that she done got in a long time, because right after this, which y'all don't know, is that right after this, she actually went over to MSNBC. Winnie the Bag says, Anton, why give this woman any airtime? Because I have to talk about it from all sides, and I have to use all different types of media to substantiate our point. I'm going to give my opinion as things happen, but I have to present it to y'all from both sides. I don't just show Fox News. I don't just say this or that. I show local news. I show MSNBC. I show CNN. I show Fox News. I show different content creators. I use all different sources to have a conversation, to generate a conversation. I'm going to have my opinion, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to limit the view or the scope by which I have these conversations by only showing one type of media. I have to show you every single side. You have the opportunity to judge it for yourself. I'm going to give you my opinion on it, but at the same time, we don't have to agree. But I have to show it all, because if you don't get the full scope of it, then that means that we live in an echo chamber.
Of that in the immediate aftermath of
what
death.
I find jarring is that there's so many people willing to excuse the most reprehensible things that he said, that they agree with that they're willing to have monuments for him, that they want to create a day to honor him, and that they want to produce resolutions in the House of Congress honoring his life and legacy. It is one thing to care about his life, because obviously so many people loved him, including his children and wife. But I am not going to sit here and be judged for not wanting to honor any legacy this man has left behind. That should be in the dustbin of history, and we should hopefully move on and forget the hate that he spewed.
So that's Ilhan Omar with her wild take. It's similar to, look, I'll give it enough for Ilhan Omar. It's kind of similar to when I showed the whole Muslim thing over in Dearborn, Michigan, and the Muslim mayor, and it was a bunch of conservatives that was using it and using some of the clip, and they wouldn't show the entire conversation because I think that they had an agenda. And I don't always 100% agree with the way that a lot of these Republicans that are online is doing stuff. I had to go and view it myself. And so when we reviewed it, I think we reviewed it on Friday. When we reviewed it, I came to the conclusion that I may not necessarily agree with him, but it didn't go the way that they said that it went. There was more context to it. And I don't like the fact that they had cut it off. So I had to actually go to the community meeting to pull it up myself, because there was a lot of propaganda that was being spewed online and people was just repeating talking points. They didn't do their own research.